Hey there, welcome. It is so good to have you with me today. Just wanted to put the little thing out there for anyone who watches this on the replay. Please take a moment to like the video, share it, drop a comment, subscribe to my channel. All those things help to make these videos more visible to a wider audience, and I really appreciate your help with that. All right, so I just got to do a happy dance here before we begin. We are going to talk about digestion. We really are. But over the weekend at the IPA Symposium, which is always held in February, I was awarded the Iridologist of the Year award for 2024. Pretty stoked, pretty happy about that. And then you'll see here that in 2022, I was awarded the Instructor of the Year. So there you go. There you go. Just had to share that really great news with you. Very excited about being nominated and voted as Iridologist of the Year. Yeah, thanks, Marie. Thanks. I really appreciate that. Okay. Alrighty, so let's dive into what the iRides teaches about digestion. Now, again, when we do these, you already know this information is meant for your education only. It's not meant to diagnose or prescribe. You are responsible for any results, good or bad, that you get from using this information. Okay, I don't know what your background is, and I just want you to know that I'm not backing you up because I haven't taught you yet, but I will. I'm going to be teaching some of you very soon. In fact, in the program that starts tomorrow. Very exciting. If you're new to me, here is my IPA some of my IPA credentials. IPA, the International Iridology Practitioners Association, gives instructors badges. These are our badges, both as you can be a certified iridologist or you can work to become an instructor. And so these are my most recent badges. And so, yeah, I've been a member of IPA for many years, but they haven't done badges for very long. So I got into holistic healing way back started being interested in it actually as a teenager, only I didn't know that's what it was back then. I was very interested in nutrition. In 1979, I met this really, really nice fellow, a few years older than me, just really nice, met him at church, and he was using herbs. And, back then it wasn't the herb. He was actually using medicinal herbs. And his mother was a lay trained herbalist. And I started listening to what he was saying about herbs and nutrition. And that was my start in this. We actually got married very shortly after that. And I started apprenticing with his mom, worked with her for about a year. And then a year later, I was out on my own doing my own thing with this. With iridology, I've studied under 8 different teachers, 3 different styles. And to date, I am only one of 10 level 3 certified iridology instructors in the world. All right, so there's not very many of us at this level 3. There's quite a few that are certified to teach levels 1 and 2, but not very many of us at level 3. I've been working in this industry, like I said, since like 1980, 81. I've written many books that were self-published and self-distributed, so you're not going to find them out there on any used bookshelf. And the most current book is the Dynamic Iridology textbook, which is available to my students in the Dynamic Iridology course. I've also designed and taught a lot of herbal courses. I was a prenatal educator for a while. That was fun. I was certified through the ICEA. And now, of course, my focus is iridology, herbs, and nutrition, and doing clinical work, yes, but also teaching practitioners. I love teaching practitioners. So stay with me to the end of today's class, and I will share with you some information about the upcoming course that actually starts tomorrow. We'll talk about what that means for you if you're interested. I'm also a member of the Canadian Association of Holistic Nutrition Professionals and the Canadian Association of Natural Nutrition Practitioners, and the Alberta Herbalist Association. And on all of those, I am a professional member, simply because that's what's required when you've got credentials and you approach these organizations. They want you to have professional status. So that's where we go with that. All right, let's dive in. That's just to let you know that you're not here studying with someone who's sort of fly by night, who just, watched a video 2 weeks ago and now I'm teaching what I learned. Not at all. So when we are talking about digestion, and when we're doing iridology, we are looking at, obviously, we're looking at the iris, and we're specifically looking at the area of the iris that is inside this ring. Right, so it's specifically what's in here. And there's a few key things we're going to look for in there. We don't have time to do everything, but we are going to touch on some of them. And that is going to correlate with stomach. So stomach is really about digestion. Mouth and stomach are primarily digestion. Gallbladder, secreting bile into the small intestine, is digestion because it's digestion of fats. The small intestines is about assimilation, and the colon is about elimination. So we are really going to focus today on stomach because that's where a lot of the digestion happens, particularly of the proteins, right? And those are the markers we see in the eyes have to do with the stomach and protein digestion. So are we all good with that? Is that making sense? If it makes sense, drop me a comment in the chat box if that's working for you. So we're going to do that really high level overview of digestion. And again, we've covered that little bit of where things are in here that we need to be aware of. All right, so there's many indicators of predispositions to digestive challenges that we can possibly see in an eye. There's quite a few different things we can see. And this is, again, looking at this closer, this is the area that correlates to digestion. All right. So as we look at this, this is teaching us about stomach and small intestines and large intestines. Now, there's no one marker in the iris that is going to guarantee anything, nor is the presence of many markers a guarantee of anything. What we are looking at in the eyes is the inherent predisposition. It's what this person has been blessed with genetically from parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and some people say great-great-grandparents. So when we see markings anywhere in the eye, we need to have a conversation with our client. We need to understand what are their symptoms, what is the family history, and from there we know better how to assess what we're looking at. This is why it is so absolutely critical that you know anatomy and physiology before you come into an iris assessment or even an iridology course, right? I know some people get a little bit huffy when I won't let them come into the course because they don't have anatomy and physiology. Now, I've got some students on the call with us today who are here for a little refresher. They'll tell you that the course would have been nearly impossible if they didn't know anatomy and physiology, right? So if any of those students want to weigh in on this, go ahead and drop it in the comments box. Knowing A and P is critical, and it's required for IPA certification as well. So you might as well get it done first to make learning iridology so much easier. We might see markers in the area. We might not, right? It's possible to have digestive concerns but have no iridology markers because a person can do enough things that are not supportive of their body to begin breaking down the structure and the function, right? So the genetic things that we see in the eyes tell us there's a predisposition to things breaking down. This person might not have those problems. They might have figured it out many years ago that they had to behave a certain way. They could eat certain foods. They needed to get a certain amount of sleep, whatever. And when they do that, things work well, right? So the eyes show us predispositions. They don't show us guarantees. On a basic level, there are 3 specific indicators that teach us about about digestive predispositions. And there are several others that teach us about the interplay of different systems, different organs in the digestive system. And so again, this is why nag. It's so important that you bring in an anatomy and physiology course before you learn iridology. So today we're going to look at 2 of the markers that teach us about digestion. Again, we're looking at things that are in here, right in here, hugging the pupil. This is a 17-year-old female. And so this is a marker that what I'm sharing with you today are markers that you can see if you've got good magnification and good lighting, right? Because the eyes are small and the marks are smaller. So when we're looking at the inner edge of this iris, can you see that it looks like somebody took little scissors and snipped into the edge of this iris? If you can see little snips, give me snips in the chat box. Let me know if you can see that. Devin can see it. Good job, Devin. Thank you for that. Marie can see it too. Excellent, excellent. Who else can see this? Can you see the snips? Okay, it's important that you see this, and Valerie can see it too. Excellent, excellent. Hoping that means everyone is seeing this. Anyone not seeing it? If you're not seeing it, give me a comment here so that I know to, make sure I point it out maybe more clearly or on another photo that's coming up. So these are not present in every person's eye. They are called comb teeth. And you can see kind of why. They look like they're forming, it looks like the iris is forming some pretty wide teeth on a comb. If this is present, it's inherent. You're not going to do anything to get rid of it here. It's always going to be there. So we're not even going to pretend to try to get rid of these. This marking suggests a greater predisposition to an inefficient or insufficient stomach lining. We're going to do a little anatomy in just a moment so that you understand the importance of this. So back to your anatomy and physiology, how is the stomach lining structured? I want you to be thinking about what you remember. What different secretions does the stomach lining produce for you? What are their roles? If the stomach lining is indeed compromised, what kinds of symptoms might you see? Now, that's what I want you to answer for me. If the person is not able to secrete digestive juices at the stomach level, what are some symptoms they might have? I want to see some answers in the chat box here. Because those are the kinds of questions that an iridologist needs to be able to ask or ascertain when they look at eyes like this. Devin, low protein digestion, brilliant. And how would that show up? How would low protein digestion and insufficient HCl show up as a symptom? Bloating and fullness. Yes, Michelle. Yes, 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 yes. Good job. Heartburn. Heartburn most of the time is not enough acid in the stomach. Valerie, good point. Good point. Yes, very good. Very good. Leaky gut. How would you see that as a symptom, Marie? Hair loss, low energy. Yeah, Devin, now you're digging deep. Good job. Good job. Mood swings. What else might you see with poor protein digestion? Skin lesions that don't heal. Oh, Devin, brilliant. Brilliant. Good work. Yes, yes. Acid reflux. Yes. Fatigue. Yes, yes. I'm going to give you one that nobody's mentioned. And I don't know if that's because you're very polite or, if you just didn't think of it. Devin, yes. Immune system dysfunction. Absolutely. Stinky farts. Right. Stinky farts. And I don't mean just, oh my goodness, did you really have to do that right now? But I mean, oh my goodness, I'm leaving the room if you're doing that today, right? The really putrid flatulence is an indication of poor protein digestion, protein rotting in the intestinal tract, because it didn't get broken down well enough at the stomach level. Is that one you were familiar with? Stinky farts, my students were familiar with that. But the rest of you, yeah, Devin says yes. Good job. Good job. Excellent. So we need to ask our clients about gas. When we see this, if they are giving us any digestive symptoms at all, any of the things that you've mentioned, I don't think I've ever had a webinar where the attendees came up with such excellent answers there. I'm just amazed, really pleased. But if we're seeing this, then we need to listen for the fatigue, the poor wound healing, the mood swings, the sugar roller coaster ride, those kinds of things, because those also give us information that they're not digesting protein well. And then we want to ask, do you pass gas? And if you do, what does it smell like? right? Yeah. When you eat protein, does it sit like a brick in your stomach? Right? So those are some good questions to ask. And we also need to remember that we need to be able to describe the structure and the function of pretty much the entire physiology, but especially the stomach lining in very simple language so that our clients get it. I'm going to put in a plug. I really should have shares in these books. The amount that I plug these books, I don't get anything for it. So the anatomy coloring book and the physiology coloring book, my two favorite books. Great as an anatomy and physiology refresher for you, but I will pull these books out when I'm with a client and I want to explain what something looks like. Let me find a good one here. I haven't colored all of it because I don't need to. But then I will pull out, I'll go to the pictures. I've colored the ones that are important, the ones that I think are important, right? And we'll pull that out. And then I can show it to my client and describe to them, walk them through the series of pictures here so that they understand what we're talking about, because most of our clients don't know how their bodies work, right? The doctors don't tell them. The doctors don't have time to tell them. And doctors, I think, often think patients don't want to know. When they come to us, they want to know. They want to know. So this is the stomach wall. This is the side that's facing in. It's the part that's in contact with food. This is the outside. When we take a little segment, so just a little chunk of this, this is what it looks like. All right, so F1 is a mucus cell. M are the parietal cells which secrete hydrochloric acid. N, coming in here, N, and we've got more N's here, secrete pepsinogen, which becomes pepsin, right? So we need the mucus up here to protect the villi in that stomach lining from the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin, because hydrochloric acid and pepsin activates HCl, and that is all designed to break down protein, and the stomach lining is simply just protein, right? So everything that's being secreted in the stomach could digest the stomach if we didn't have mucus here. Too many times we think mucus is bad. Too much mucus and mucus in the wrong place is not a great thing. But the right amount of mucus in the right place is a brilliant thing, right? Are we good? Is that a refresher for you? I'm truly hoping that was just a refresher. Yes, says Marie. Excellent. Love it. Okay. This is the eye of a 60-year-old male. And you can see along this inner edge of his iris, again, we've got comb teeth. Now, if you're joining me on a phone, that might be hard to see because your screen is so tiny. But if you're on a computer, you might be able to see this more clearly, right? So we're only looking at the texture at the very edge here. This edge shows us this fellow's stomach lining is likely unable to secrete enough acid to do the job. So how does age, and this is genetic, it's been with him since he was conceived. So this isn't just something from aging, but I want to ask, how does age affect the secretion of fluids from the stomach lining? Devin, it lowers production. Yeah. Yeah. Devin, you're sharp. You're sharp. Absolutely. Now, by the time we're 35, we start losing our digestive acid. By the time we're 55, we're usually down by half. So he started at a low point anyways. You know, maybe he started, I don't know, I'm going to make up numbers here. Maybe he started with really about a 30% digestive function if we look at what optimal would be. And he's now in his 60s, which means that'll be down by half. So he's got maybe 15% of an optimal digestive capacity at the stomach level. So we might need to give him some digestive support here, right? We probably do. I find that digestion is one of the biggest things that I support with most of my clients, right? Most of them have either indicators in their eyes of some kind that say stomach, or they have symptoms that say stomach. So, we're probably going to need to give him some betaine HCl, maybe some pepsin. There's different enzymes we can get that have those. Right now, what about the mucus? Because here's the other part of the story. We can't see this clearly in an image like this because this doesn't show us the stomach lining. But if the mucus cells, let's pop back there for a moment. If there is some kind of a deficiency, that means the mucus cells are not producing enough mucus. What is that going to tell the parietal cells and the chief cells to do? If we don't have enough mucus, how will that influence the parietal cells and the chief cells? Yeah, Michelle, yes. Yeah, that lack of mucus, the body's smart, is going to go, hey, you know what? We don't want to produce any more HCl or pepsinogen, or pepsin rather, because if we do that, we're going to digest ourselves because we don't have that mucus barrier. Yeah, Maria, that's going to push the pH too high, isn't it? And so sometimes when we see an eye like this and we see the stomach lining, the markers that correlate to stomach lining, and we know they've got the stinky farts and proteins that's like a brick in their stomach, like they've given up on beef and they've given up on just about all proteins because it just sits like a brick. We maybe need to do things to not just build their acid level, but to build the mucus lining, build their mucus production, right? Get the mucus production up. Then when we give the HCl, when we give the pepsin, we're actually going to help digest things better so they get the component parts so that they can start making some of their own, right? So again, there's other digestive indicators in the eye. We're not going to delve into everything today, but that's a key one. Let's look at it at the next one. When you look at this eye, can you see that there's an edge right here? If you can see that, give me the word edge in the chat box. Edge. Can you see an edge right here? Devin sees it. Marie sees it. Yes, yes, yes. And Valerie sees it. Excellent. So good, so good. This is a woman who's in her 50s, and Michelle sees it too. So good. This area is called the stomach ring. In the dynamic iridology course, we go into a lot of detail about the stomach ring, what it is, and when we see the edge of it, why can we see the edge of it? This stomach ring, seeing a stomach ring like this, does tell us again that this client has a predisposition to digestive insufficiency, right? So it's possible to have comb teeth and a stomach ring. I call that a double whammy, right? That's two things. I'm really going to be listening to her symptoms. Maybe her symptoms aren't stomach, but maybe it's the slow wound healing. Maybe it's that roller coaster of moods and blood sugars through the day. There's so many symptoms that people would say, that's not digestion. And you go, well, yeah, it is. It is digestion, because if she was digesting, getting the right foods and digesting them properly, things would probably even out tremendously well for her, right? And so again, with this client being in her mid-50s, we were doing digestive support with her. She's got lots of other things going on in these eyes, and that doesn't mean these are things that that she has control over, but there's a lot of genetic indicators in the eyes overall that are telling us about her lipid profile, about her risk of blood sugar imbalances, about how her liver wants to be cranky, about the risk of inflammation, about the risk particularly of uric acid types of inflammation, right? So we're thinking more like along the lines of like gout and joint issues and things like that. So there's a lot of information here. And really, in all honesty, many of those things can at least be somewhat mitigated by supporting the digestive system. Break the foods down better so that all of the body gets better nutrient profiling. And so we get less waste being sent into the blood to be dealt with there, right? So digestion is so, so important. This isn't in focus quite as well as I'd like it to be, but can you still see the stomach ring? Can you see that edge in here? Yeah, good job, Marie. So glad you can see that. And Devin and Valerie and Michelle, fantastic. You can see that edge. So we know then, again, that with this client, we're going to be listening for symptoms that would tie back into stomach function, right? And we need to ask questions very cleverly. And I don't mean that like sneaky like a fox. I mean that we need to craft our questions well. We need to use words that will help us get the type of information we need to hear. So I never ask my clients something broad like, how's your digestion? Because in truth, when I say, how's your digestion, most of them are going to say fine. Or most of them will think I'm talking about elimination, right? And so I will ask very specifically, are there any foods you've learned to avoid because they cause some kind of problem for you? Right? Be very specific. And then when they say, oh yeah, I can't eat this, what does it do? If you were to eat that, what would happen? Right? Oh, it would go straight through me. I would vomit. I would have such incredible stomach cramps. I would get a rash around my mouth, you know, all the different things. I would break out an eczema all over my body, right? And so we need to be very clever, very careful in how we word the questions we ask. We never use the eyes to tell the client what is wrong. Because again, this one person that we're looking at right now, she is a holistic nutritionist, right? I'm hoping that means that she learned well when she was in school what she needs to do for her own body to stay well, and that she's doing the right kinds of supplements and the right kinds of foods and has a good lifestyle that is supporting her stomach and everything else, of course. And if she's doing that, she actually may not have any symptoms. But I can see where she would have problems if she was being sloppy. Does that make sense? If it does, give me sloppy in the chat box so I know that landed for you. Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm just going to put a little plug in because 3 of you who are here today are going to be classmates for the next 20 weeks. So, you know, if you're starting the class tomorrow with me, look at that list of who's with us and kind of memorize that so that tomorrow when you meet each other in class, you'll go, I saw you last night, right? That is so fun, so fun. All right, so I just had to throw that in there because this is very unusual to have 3 students who are starting so soon all in a mini class together. And then we've got a whole bunch of graduates, some certified graduates, some who are working on certification, and we've got a few new people today too, so it's pretty fun. This is the eye of a 10-year-old boy. Now, I can give you all kinds of information about him. He was diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. I think it was ADHD. And his parents really wanted to try to avoid medications with him. So when we look at his eyes, we can look at that stomach area and we see that it's a very different color from the rest of his eye. Right? That alone is going to teach us a little bit about the color of this originated with another organ, not the stomach. And that other organ wants to influence the stomach to misbehave. That other organ is a ringleader, a very naughty ringleader. And so when we look at the eye here, we know we are going to have to work with that ringleader if we are going to be able to have a positive impact on the stomach. Now, I want to take this one level deeper. So Chanel is saying hi to all of our new February 25 cohort. Yes, I love that. So good. So she kind of gave it away that she's one of the students because she said new fellow students. There we go. Okay, look at this eye though. Look at all these rings going around and around and around and around. That is not actually a digestive sign, but it is an indication of how this person's nervous system works, and that this person likely thinks sitting to chew food is a waste of time. He's a 10-year-old boy. Let me get out there with the soccer ball. I want to get on my little game device, whatever. I want to, I want to do anything, but I don't want to be sitting here eating supper. Can I just go play, Mom? No, you've got to eat and then you got to do your homework. Mom, right? And so this is telling us that he creates his own digestive problems by not focusing on and paying attention to his demeanor when he's eating, right? He also has some very tiny, very faint comb teeth. So he's kind of got a double whammy here. Actually, a triple whammy. He's got the comb teeth, he's got the extra pigment in that stomach area, and he's got all of these rings that want to influence a lot of things, including his ability to digest. All right, so with this young man, we had to start playing games to get him to slow down, right? I don't know any kids that like to dawdle at the table. I did as a kid. My dad used to be the chief dishwasher in the house because we didn't have a dishwasher. And there was only 5 of us in the family, 3 kids and 2 parents. And Dad loved washing dishes. He felt that was a good way that he could contribute to the running of the house. And he would be washing dishes. And it's not like my dad was an opera singer. He certainly wasn't. But he would sing a song because I was dawdling. And so, you keep me waiting. It's getting aggravating. You're a slowpoke. Right. And so I think I'm the only person who's ever dawdled over their food constantly as a child. At any rate, so this child needed to learn how to slow down. So we had to devise some games and some other things that would make him feel like it was worthwhile to sit there, right? Do you know anybody who eats in a rush? I will often tease and say they unhinge their jaw and swallow their prey whole, or 2 chomps and a swallow, right? But they don't chew it. We know we need to chew our food until it is a texture of cake batter. It's hard to do. Think about all the people you know. Anyone you know eat too fast. These are the eyes of a 4-year-old girl. I've known her since a few years before she was conceived because I started working with her mom on fertility issues. This little girl was conceived with IVF and the support of herbs. She's an only child, and she is amazingly loved and absolutely not spoiled. She has many opportunities, and she is just a delight, an absolute delight to be with. She's now 10 or 11 years old. I love it when her mom brings her in. She's just such a sweetie. I want you to look and see that she's got comb teeth, right? She's got comb teeth. She inherited these comb teeth from her parents. Now, she hasn't done this to herself. Her mother has been extremely conscientious with everything, from good foods, allowing for some treats. So there's a balance here, right? Discipline with love, recreational time with structured time. I mean, this mother has done an amazing job. So what do we do with a 4-year-old who has comb teeth? We talk to the mom about preventive maintenance, right? We say, you see these comb teeth, these little slits, snips at the edge of her iris. There's no obvious symptoms yet, and that is very good. That means that whatever you're doing is doing well. It's doing right by her. What we want to make sure is that that continues. We really don't want her to get into soda pop. We don't want her to get into coffee and black tea. We don't want her to get into sugary foods. Like, we want her to continue with a really good, healthy diet, just like what you've been raising her on so far. And, we want her to learn to make sure she stays at the table to chew her food well. and that she's not doing other things while she's eating, right? And as near as I know, with our last appointment, which was just a few months ago, they're doing a good job of maintaining those really healthy habits. And this young lady is very well, she's very poised, and she speaks well with adults. You can literally carry on a great conversation with her, and she understands. So when she comes in, I don't talk to the mom, I talk to the child. And every now and then I'll just check with mom and go, you good with this? All right. And I'll just keep going with the child, just make sure that the mom's on board. And she always is. So we do the preventive maintenance, right? If there's no symptoms, we do preventive maintenance. This is another client of mine. She's been a client of mine for 4 decades. She was one of my very first clients. She was just barely over 20 when she started coming in. I was just barely over 20 when she started coming in as well. She's in her mid-60s now. She's been away for a while, and clients do that, right? They come in for several appointments and we get them feeling great, and then they disappear because they're feeling so good. And then things shift, life happens, they slip, their body just gets older. Now things are not working right. So they come back in and we get them on track, and then they disappear again. So it's an ebb and a flow. So she's been coming back now because in the last about 8 or 10 years, she's developed some serious weight issues. She was never a petite girl body-wise. Her happy weight, she's about 5'6", 5'7". Her happy weight is about 175. She weighs about 260 now. Menopause has just packed it on her. She's been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and esophageal reflux. So she has problems swallowing. She says it always feels like there's mucus in her throat that she can't move. So we want to then look at the stomach zone. When we look at that edge again, we can see that there are some little bits of snips in there, and we can see that that stomach ring is a dark color. We would like the stomach ring to be a lighter color like the rest of her iris, right? But it's not, it's a darker color. So we know that her stomach is going to struggle. She's going to need to be very careful. She has not always been careful, right? She was when she was much younger. And then of course she got married, she had kids, and so often that just means things fall apart. What we also know is that if the stomach acid is low, the lower esophageal sphincter will not close properly. And if it doesn't close properly, we get stomach contents backwashing up into the esophagus. And the esophagus is neutral. Anything coming out of the stomach is going to be acidic. Even if it's not acidic enough to digest protein, it's still going to be more acidic than the esophagus, right? And so we get this acid stuff backwashing up into the esophagus. The esophagus doesn't like that. So the esophagus starts creating all kinds of mucus to protect itself. And you probably know people who are constantly going, right? They're always clearing their throat. My bet is they have a lower esophageal sphincter that's not closing properly. I've seen that so many times, right? But if these people go to a doctor, and this was this client's experience, the doctor gave her a proton pump inhibitor. Anyone see a problem with that? Valerie says that is so correct. Yeah. You see a problem with that? She doesn't have enough acid to digest protein, but the doctor determined that with what's coming up, it's too acidic. So he gave her something to block her acid production, which means she'll break down her protein even less well. And she now doesn't even have the acid to assimilate minerals to keep her bones and her endocrine system strong. Marie, it is the worst thing to do. It is. And so I can't tell her to stop a prescription, but I asked her to do an experiment. It is because she is low acid in the stomach. Absolutely, Michelle, absolutely perfect. So I asked her to do an experiment because I can't tell her to stop a drug, and I would never do that. That's not within my scope of practice. So I asked her, what do you think would happen if you were to do an experiment where you put the proton pump inhibitor on hold and tried taking a little hydrochloric acid. And her response was, I have no idea, but the proton pump inhibitor is not working. So I'm willing to try anything. We tried it and we started really low, just a little bit, because if she really had too much stomach acid and we added more HCl, we were just going to light her on fire. Right? And that's not what we wanted to do. So we started really low. And over a week or two, we gradually built it up. And she found that we got to a certain point where she said, huh, I don't have that thick stuff in my throat anymore. Yeah. Now you've got enough stomach acid for the lower esophageal sphincter to close and keep things down where they belong. Right? So that was so, so good. And, you know, because she did the experiment, she can now go back to her doctor and say, I've decided to not use this because I found that when I do this, it works better. Right? And I worry about her. She's in her mid-60s. She's relatively sedentary because of her weight and the pain that's creating for her joints and the inflammation that she's predisposed to. You can see when in her eyes, when you know all the markers, that she is very predisposed to inflammation, right? And so we need to get the acid in check, and we need to get her body clearing it to begin reducing the inflammation. That is also why she's not losing weight as a part of it, right? Weight that goes on and won't come off is because the body is inflamed, right? You've probably heard that in a million other places. There's so many more things that we could talk about with these eyes. Oh my goodness, so much information in her eyes, so much, so much. Some of the best advice from Dr. Bernard Jensen: after your meal, sit a while, then walk a mile. Okay, and so it's just so important. You know, my parents used to go for an evening walk in the summer times, not in the winter because it's too cold and icy here. But even my husband and I enjoy doing that. You know, in the summer when we've got more daylight in the evening, we'll often go for a walk at like 8:30 or 9 at night, just because it just feels good after dinner and after a long day to just let it go, right? This is also really important for people who are sympathetic dominant, right? People who respond acutely to stress, they need to take time to eat. They need to sit a while after they eat, and then they need to walk a mile. Marie says, that's amazing. My dad was sick and stopped his PPI, which he was on for many years, and stayed off of them. He's been drinking lots of water to settle acid. It has been working for him amazingly. So good. So good. So with that, just going to take a little minute here to introduce, for those of you who are not yet enrolled in the class that starts tomorrow, introduce the dynamic iridology assessment system to you. You already know me a little bit. The dynamic iridology assessment system will help you to assess your clients faster. It will help you to be more accurate. It will help you to develop better and faster rapport with your clients. And it eliminates the need for an intake form. You still need your release form, never give that up. But I've never had a client complain that they didn't have to fill out a questionnaire. Their symptoms and an iris assessment guide the discussion. They teach me what questions I need to ask. So we do their intake form as a conversation. And clients love that. They don't get to talk to anybody else, right? You go to a doctor. When you go to a doctor, you've got 10 minutes, maybe, probably more like 7 or 5. You don't get to talk about all your problems. You get 1 or 2 questions, and that's it. If you've got 3 things you need to talk about, you book another appointment for the next day to come in for the 3rd. It's crazy. So our clients love to talk with us. The next course is starting tomorrow. Now, some of you are thinking, that's way too close. Some of you have actually had the insight call with me, and you're thinking it's maybe still on the fence. And you're thinking, well, now it's too late. Even if you've had the insight call, it's not too late. You've got the link. If you need the link again, let me know to register. I'll send it to you. If you haven't had an insight call with me yet, I have had students enroll in this program up to about the 3rd module. If you've got a little extra time to get caught up, the first couple of modules are pretty easy to get caught up on because there's not too much information layered in there yet. right? So it's not too late. You'll see that link that you see on the screen. I'm going to pop that into the chat box for anybody who needs it. That's where you can reach out to me to have a little chat with me over Zoom to talk about your goals in the course and your qualifications to make sure it's a good fit for you, right? One of the things that makes this course stand out from others is that you can only enroll by having a conversation with me, because we do want to make sure that it is a good fit for you. We want to make sure, what are your goals? What is your background? Is this going to take you where you need it to go, or you need to go, or do you need to do something else first, right? So we really want to make sure it is a good fit. The Dynamic Iridology Assessment System for Health Professionals is the only live, online, fully mentored course for RNs, NPs, functional medicine practitioners, nutritionists, herbalists, naturopaths. Think of anybody who's got that college level anatomy and physiology under their belt, who want to streamline their clinical work without sacrificing client care. Too many of us holistic practitioners spend time with the client, then we go off and we spend our own time, unpaid usually, writing reports to give back to the client. No, this is going to put an end to that, because we don't want you working that unpaid overtime to create programs. We don't want you giving your clients so much information that they can't do the program. We do want to create programs that will increase client compliance and their success and create long-term relationships, right? I've got so many clients that have been with me for more than 20 years, some for more than 30, and as we saw today, some for 40 and even 45 years. So I know this system works. It's so much more lovely. I love my new clients, don't get me wrong. It's expensive to find new clients, the marketing and everything that goes with that, right? Once you've got a client, nurture them, take care of them so they want to keep coming back to you. Oh, right. I'm gonna see if this will play. I don't know if it will. Let me know if you can hear it.
Yes, it's been so amazing, and it's flown by, honestly. It has flown by. I'm like, wow. I mean, yeah, I'm very grateful, and I feel like this is exactly what I was seeking, but more. It was more than what I thought that I was going to receive. I'll say that, most definitely.
I'd have to second that, Paige. I think we've definitely gotten far more than what we thought we were going to, but it's ticked all the boxes as far as I'm concerned, because I look holistically. I'm very thankful that I'm part of another network now that thinks holistically. It's been wonderful. Fridays are always the day I look forward to being able to catch up and touch back into the health side of things. So this is a really nice way just to re-enlighten my brain. So I look forward to this being the start of a wonderful journey together.
Yes, yes.
There you go. So that was a couple of graduates from a recent course of dynamic iridology and what they felt. And that was just towards the end of the course, they both wanted to say something. And so that just really touched my heart. Really touched my heart.
Yes, it's been so amazing, and it's flown by. Honestly.
No, I really don't want to watch it again with you as much as I loved it. And I'm not sure why this is. There we go. Now I'm where I want to be, I think. So dynamic iridology, 20 weekly classes, 2.25 to 2.5 hours per class. They're interactive web classes, like what we're doing now, only you would have your mic open and your camera on, so we can actually have conversations. Each class session is recorded and uploaded to your student portal. We have group mentoring via a live webinar twice each month. We just had one today. But yeah, one of our new students from tomorrow was on it as well. Cool. The textbook, 225 pages. It's digital downloadable. 45 pages of cheat sheets or study notes. Limit of 10 students per cohort. The group is kept small so that you get all kinds of good stuff. And one-on-one mentoring for certification preparation. What kinds of tools do we need? Iridology camera or just a magnifier and pen light for now? For the beginning of the class, all you really need is your lighted magnifier and a pen light. That's it. You can play with, and there are videos in the student site to teach you how to get iris photos using your smartphone. Right? They won't be perfect, but they will be absolutely, they'll be absolutely useful. Devin's saying, I can't find a magnifier without ring lights. Where have you found one? Devin, we'll talk about that in class tomorrow. Okay, we'll look at sources and see if we can find you one. I've actually been looking at sourcing them and bringing them in bulk so that my students can buy them from me, because they are hard to find. They are. And so I'm actually in touch with someone in China, of course, through Alibaba. And I'm thinking that I'm going to be starting to bring in like 50 at a time. Right. And that way, if students need one, they can just order them from me. Yeah, that way you've got it, right? So we've got lots of support here, lots of support, because the purpose of the course is not just to teach you iridology. It's to teach you how to use it with what you do. It's to teach you how to integrate it. Michelle says, awesome, we don't need an iridology camera. Got one, but so expensive. Yeah, eventually you'll want one. Like probably after the end of the class and before you finish certifying, you might want to get a camera, right? But don't rush out and buy one before you get to that point. You've already got one, great. If you have problems with it, we can always troubleshoot that in the mentoring sessions to help you get better photos if you need that support. Okay. All right. Another grad, Jade Brooks, says, this is my first iridology course. However, in my certified natural health professional course, we were given a 3-hour lesson on iridology in a nutshell. That lecture and study material left me more confused than before I knew anything at all. Judith's DIAS program has been an incredible experience, and we are just halfway through the program. Her teaching materials are thorough and easy to follow. The charts are invaluable and so insightful. I left Western medicine a while ago in favor of natural health. I've been an RN for 22 years. Western medicine wasn't able to help me with my health, but iridology has helped me to identify many of my health challenges and act to support my body toward better health. I've also been able to guide my family in supporting their bodies. Judith is truly amazing and is my most favorite instructor. Oh, hearts all over the place. Out of all my many years of higher education, thanks, Judith. So there you go. Another lovely, lovely evaluation of the course. And she was only halfway through, and she's already saying it's helping her to find solutions. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So again, here we are. If you aren't enrolled yet and you've got the link, there is plenty of time. You could do it tomorrow, you could do it tonight, you could do it Friday, you can still get into the class. If you haven't had an insight call and you're thinking, well, this is sounding really interesting, I think I could be interested, then grab that link, the one that I posted up there a little bit, I'll give it to you again, and look at it and schedule a time off that link. You'll see a green button. You just click on it. It'll take you to a calendar. Choose a time to meet with me and let's talk. Let's see if this is somewhere where you want to go and if this is the right time for you. So with that, my friends, are there any other questions tonight? That was fun tonight. I loved the answers you gave and the involvement and the interaction. So cool, so good, so good. Good primer for the course, right? Where am I from? I'm from the cold north, true and free. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I don't say A, just so you know. That's the Canadian thing, right? A? Yeah, I don't do that. All righty. Oh, you're in Saskatchewan. Yay, Michelle. Go you. Go you. We talk the same language mostly. Saskatoon. My mom was from just outside of Saskatoon. Very fun. All right. So with that, my friends, I would love to speak with any of you who are still on the fence or are curious. As long as you've got that A and P, we're good to have a conversation. Do I find tomorrow's class in the learning section of the portal? We will walk through that in your class tomorrow, Marie. I'll give you a tour of where to find things. I'll walk you through right from beginning. We'll use a fresh account so that when we click in, you'll see how to log in and what you're looking at. And you don't worry about finding the class for tomorrow. I'll show you where everything is. Okay. Do you have the Zoom link for tomorrow? That was in the emails. You got another email today with your Zoom link for tomorrow. So if you're for class, if you're meaning how do you get to the webinar, check your emails. including junk, spam, and promo, because I don't know why they're getting sent there, but they sometimes are. And there was an email sent out a couple of days ago and another one sent out today with the same information so that you would have it. You didn't. Okay, let's wrap up here. I'm just going to stop the share and I'm going to stop the recording.